To the U.S., where New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has announced his resignation after a report by the state attorney general concluded he'd had sexually harassed nearly a dozen women. The governor announced plans to resign in a televised address. He apologized to the women involved, but said the allegations were untrue and politically motivated. Cuomo said he'll step down in 14 days. He'll be replaced by his deputy, Kathy Hochul, who will become the first female governor in New York State history. Let's get you the latest now on these developments. James Reinhold joins us from New York. He's a freelance journalist there. James, a bombshell announcement. Was it expected at all?
Well, ever since this report came out last week that you were talking about from the state attorney general that found that Cuomo was indeed a sex pest, the question has been, will he stay or will he go? And now in the last few hours, we know he is gone. I guess with so many critics slamming him, and so many members of his own Democratic Party turning against him, for Cuomo, the writing was on the wall.
The writing was on the wall. What happens next, James?
Well, we got 14 days, and then Mr. Cuomo is formally going to leave office. Then his deputy, Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul, takes over. And then you've got the change of administration there. As for what happens to Mr. Cuomo when he's no longer the governor of New York State, but a private citizen, well, we don't know yet. But one thing is that he's going to be continuing to fight some of these criminal complaints that have been leveled against him in various counties of New York, fighting to preserve his name and his reputation.
What do you make of the timing of this announcement?
I think he'd run out of options. You know, after the report came out, we had big name members of the Democratic Party, up to and including President Joe Biden himself and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. They'd reserved judgment as to whether or not he should resign until the findings of the investigation. And after the investigation came out, they both called for his resignation. Many other members of the Democratic Party did. And also he was facing most likely impeachment by New York State legislature. So what was the last straw, really? On Sunday night, his top aide, Melissa DeRosa, she resigned from his staff. And so I guess without even a team around him, he didn't see a way forward.
Can you tell us, who is Kathy Hochul, his replacement?
So she's 62 years old. She's a Democrat. As you mentioned before, she's going to be the first woman governor of New York State in the history. She's been Cuomo's deputy for the past 7 years. Today she's tweeted that she's ready for the job. She said she's prepared to lead and that she's got experience, that she's served at all levels of government. When it comes to what does she think about the behavior of her boss, former boss, Mr. Cuomo, she did say that she believed the women and the behavior described in the report was repulsive and unlawful.
And briefly, if you can, does this preclude Mr. Cuomo from running for office again?
Well, that's a big question. You know, this is part of the roller coaster that is U.S. politics. Don't forget that 1 year ago, Mr. Cuomo wasn't being viewed as a sex pest who had to resign. He was a national hero in the face of the coronavirus pandemic. His daily briefings were a source of security for many Americans, particularly New Yorkers. Now, he's the latest scalp in the Me Too movement. Personally, many people think it's going to be hard for a Democrat to come back after this. But of course, from what we've seen in US politics over the last few years, it does show that there is a lot that you can get away with.
James Reinhold reporting from New York. Thank you.